And we are back with another episode of Fly and the Other Guy. Our first in-season podcast. It's kind of exciting. There's stuff to talk about. There's things happening. It's not just the kind of preseason hype.
Yeah, the season is going on right now. There's matches being played every day. It's just fun, It's just fun to have Dota back for me.
It is, well, for you, yeah. I mean, that is it's kind of the career. So you prefer the in-season more than the off-season. See, other people with regular jobs might prefer their vacation a little bit more, but for you, it's the other way around.
It's a mix of both. I think I like having Dota to watch, and I also like playing. So having Dota to watch during the day, like even when I just wake up and I'm not playing that day, I would just have a stream on the background, like something like that. It's just nice to have.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the cool thing about Dota, right? Compared to other sports and maybe even other esports, is like the global nature of it. That there's kind of always a game on, depending on what region you're on. It's like, oh, let me turn on. Oh, there's Chinese games gone. Oh, like watch some Southeast Asian. Oh, early in the day, let me watch some Western EU. Like it's kind of just cool that it's always on.
Yeah, exactly. There's never a time without Dota when the season's actually going.
Do you prioritize to what's your favorite other than Western EU? Like, what time of day links up best with the region that you like to watch? If that question made any sense.
It makes sense, but it's hard to choose anything other than Western Europe, really.
Yeah. It's a
Like I
good time
wake
of
up.
day, right?
Yeah, it's a good time of day. I guess Eastern Europe is the other one, right? Because
Mhm.
that's the same time. Like for the Asian games, I wake up and maybe there's gonna still be a match going, maybe one match max. That's it. So that one doesn't line up as well. And then NA, obviously, there's maybe a handful of interesting games in there.
Yeah, that's interesting. So yeah, let's get into it. Right, first impression. You guys are 2-0. You beat Thuth. You beat Thuth, and then you guys beat Wildcard Gaming. Um, First impressions of the team playing together. I mean, the big change, obviously, Saberlight. He's really the only adjustment. But you do have the new org. So what's kind of the first impressions of week one of the DPC for you guys?
Yeah, I think we are starting off against some of the easier opponents
Hmm.
in our region, and it was relatively easy. I think the first game against Thoof Gaming
Hmm.
wasn't exactly what we anticipated, which is also a bad thing. We shouldn't have expected like to stomp them really, but it did happen the second game. But we thought we could probably run away from the game just through the laning phase.
Yeah, that was actually a little bit of a closer match. I mean, I would say mid game it was probably odds were close to 50-50. It wasn't like any of the other games, which seemed pretty over within 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, I think we were never really in danger of losing that game from our point of view. It
Hmm.
just, we had like a Doombringer and a Morphling. We were gonna have a really good late game lineup if it came down to it, as opposed to some Troll Warlord and stuff. But it was definitely a bit surprising that they kind of held their own in terms of the laning stage that game. We didn't run away with the game right away, which we did in pretty much everything else. So
Was it the laning part that surprised you? Like what specifically do you think?
I think they have some hero specialists on that team. That guy is like a level 25 troll warlord on
Hmm.
his on his Dota Plus. So some picks are a little unusual. The offlane player plays a ton of Death Prophet, so they kind of knew some of the heroes that they were gonna play. And that usually helps them, have a better understanding of matchups in the lanes and things like that. So
Gotcha. With some of these teams that are kind of up and coming or a little bit newer, a little bit less experienced, in a series format, right? That's going to make a little bit of a change where maybe game one or maybe half of game they can put up a little bit of a fight, but then they're going to struggle over a course of a series.
yeah, I think especially if there's only a handful of heroes they're really comfortable on, once that gets kind of figured out or you know what's coming, then they lose that edge and it's going to show that they're lacking either experience or some of the other things that better teams have.
Gotcha. Um, I was going to bring that up later, but we can talk about it now. It felt like at least in the last DPC, right before TI, and also maybe when you were with Talon or something, I can't remember. But it always seems like you start with harder teams early on. Like you guys definitely played, I think TSM first, or
We
was it
played
TSM?
Nouns for
Nouns. Okay,
or back then for Zoomers, I think. Yeah.
yeah, and so it's probably easier, right, to start with maybe some of the easier teams early on?
Yeah, I think it definitely depends on your situation. So the last time when we played four Zoomers first, then we didn't have much time to practice at all. I think just a couple of days because people came over after having to go through like visas and things like that. Um, but in this, I think if we had to redo the whole thing and this time we would start with the harder opponents, I do think we would have a better shot now
Hmm.
because at least we had almost a week together before, which is, the very bare minimum you should have before
Yeah,
going into the DPC, just at least a week. I do think this is the easier route when you start off with the easier teams, but it also kind of builds a bit of hype towards the end,
yeah,
right? Because everybody's going to look forward to us playing against TSM, us playing against Nouns, which are basically our last two matches.
yeah. No, I saw that. So January 25th, you guys play Nouns, and then in a couple days after that, January 28th, you finish up with TSM. So that is kind of where the NA DPC is heading. But a lot of games before that too. My first impressions from a viewer is PGL seemed to do pretty good. I think like right there was this overall kind of negative move against PGL during TI, and TI TI production okay, so. Um, but I thought it was good. I mean, I think that Snare is a very good host to have for NA, and they do their best, right, from for an NA standpoint, because it seems like a lot of it is going to be these kind of mismatched games until we get it later on. But and then also just the set was really nice, and I thought overall production quality not a problem.
I think from what I've seen, it definitely looks a lot better. Yeah, not just for NA, but other regions as well that PJL is handling. It definitely looks, you used to have those like floating little monitors, and I think for
Hmm.
TI or something, which didn't look very good.
Yeah.
Now there's like a studio, maybe because they get to host it in Romania. I'm not sure. I think that's where they are, but that's where PGL is based. So it's probably a lot easier for them to have everything set up the way they want to, and it does look a lot better. I will say.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, for me, for my first impression, I enjoyed it as a viewer. I thought it was pretty good. So, not all doom and gloom from the PGL production front. So yeah, quick little recap of the first week. We touched a little bit on the impression. How are the teammates doing? How's everybody? Everyone's getting along, and everyone's happy with the first few games.
Yeah, I think the games were fairly smooth overall. Everybody is having still a good time with each other. I think having more frequent games is a huge game changer
Hmm.
because we're gonna be playing tomorrow and then we're gonna be playing like a double header. I think towards the weekend. So there's a lot to look forward to. There's not so much lag time in between games, so that definitely makes it way more interesting for us, for
It's
everyone here.
right. It's almost like before as a team, it was like how well can you get along with each other for six? It's like more like we're roommates first, and then we're Dota professionals on the side because you played so infrequently.
Yeah, exactly. And we have been doing some stuff to, between when we have time off to actually gel with each other. And it's been going really good. I think like the vibes on the team are everybody's having a lot of fun. I know, again, honeymoon phase a little bit,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but everyone's getting along really well and we're having a very good time with each other, like outside the game too.
Well, I enjoyed Saberlight's post game interview for the second match. He's got a good level of like sarcasm. There were some jokes out there, but still gives good, and then after the joke gives good answers and everything. So I think, like we talked about before, it does definitely seem like a good chemistry guy to have on the team.
Yeah, he's very much like you would see him in stream on his stream. He's very much that kind of personality. He's not really putting up anything, any kind of show. Like, sure, he might be a little more talkative on his stream compared to when he's playing matches and things like that. But
Hmm.
he is what you see, which is
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, nice. My biggest takeaway from a strategy standpoint for week one for you guys is no Ricky Five. We saw him on the
Ah,
stream, so unsuccessful, but it didn't translate. I have to say I was a little disappointed.
yeah, me too. After losing all my games in Ricky, I had the confidence to bring it out in an official match.
I mean, if not against some of these teams, then I'm not sure who. But
We'll
um,
see. We'll see.
yeah, yeah. The other thing that I did notice, right, other than no Ricky Five, is I saw some new heroes, right? And the meta we've talked about hasn't changed too much. So I think new season, everyone works on a few more heroes. I mean, seeing Abed on the OD, a Saberlight, offlane Tusk, like to me that was kind of fun and refreshing to watch. Does it feel like refreshing being on being on a team now, or that's just widening and having this different hero pool?
Yeah, I think we touched on it a little bit, but having someone like Saberlight who can play so many different heroes,
Hmm.
it does also mean that everybody else is going to be able to play different heroes too, right? Because you're always going to have to find some kind of synergy. Like, what if my offlaner doesn't have a stun, then my middle needs to have one, things like that. But now suddenly we have this guy who can play pretty much any hero in the game to a pretty good level. Um, Maybe another player similar to that would be someone like Zai, for example, from Team Liquid. um, but that's we can bust out a Darkseer if it looks good. He
I
can
was gonna
play a random
say
Tusk,
solid arcs
right?
here, loved it.
Right? Yeah, the guy's I think he's almost Grandmaster Darkseer at Dota Plus, but that the guy played a lot of Darkseer in his life.
um, so 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 having someone like that, you're saying it does really open up other people's hero pools. How does it open up your hero pool at all? Does that, I mean, that probably affects you the least, maybe?
Probably me the least. But funny enough, he also is a Phoenix lover. So maybe, we could confuse people by picking Phoenix. You never know if it's going to be Saber or myself. So I got
Hey,
another Phoenix lover in my team to advocate for that hero. So that's a big win for me.
you know,
Big win.
what you should do is you should use the podcast to like tease completely bogus ideas, right? So that people have
Sure.
to like worry about it, right? Put it out there, being like, I've been working, I've been working on this Ursa 5. Really, it's 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 really. I'm thinking about breaking it out in the next major, right? And then people have to start thinking about it. Like, was he serious or not?
And then I'll also add that Saber can also play it. So
There you go.
yeah,
There you go.
Mission
See,
3
this
Ursa.
is this podcast is going to be a good tool for some disinformation. I think it's a good idea. Um, like we talked about, there were some stomps this week, all around, even with like the other teams, TSM, Nouns. Seems like anytime that one of these three play, TSM, Nouns, or Shopify, if it's not each other, it might be a little bit of a one sided affair. Um, what do you guys learn from stomps, if anything, as a
Honestly,
team?
not much. Um, it's hard to test if your idea is right when the skill difference is too big. And realistically, that's what's happened in our games. The
Hmm.
skill difference is too big that even if we come up with an idea, and it could be terrible, it could be like we're completely off, but because the players are just that much better, you don't really know if what you're doing is right. So we have to take a lot from our scrims and things like that.
Now, you guys are scrimming. You're scrimming mostly like Div One, like maybe EU teams and like South American teams.
I think most of our scrims have been either European or Eastern European teams.
Do do the other teams like Thuth Gaming and Wildcard, do they get like, who scrims them? Like, I was thinking about this, like, because you guys obviously have like the cachet of of the players on your team, and you can reach out to Liquid or whoever, like one of these other top tier teams, say, hey, let's scrim, and they'll see value in that. Does that is that opportunity not available to some of the lesser Div One teams and things like that?
That's a good point because I do think they have way less opportunities to scrim the top teams. Because even from my standpoint, say I'm gonna go schedule scrims now, I'm not gonna choose wildcard. Like, no offense to them,
Hmm.
but if I'm given a choice of scrimming, Liquid, Secret, Bet Boom, whatever, I'm gonna choose that team, 100 times over.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're going to be a situation where you want to fill a scrim and you could test out a team. So right, you would schedule with a team that might not be as good and see how it goes, and then you would decide if you want to scrim more of them. And that's something we have done with some of the South American teams, and then we see like if there's something we can learn from them, if it's good practice, then we'll play them again.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. So that's almost a little bit of a disadvantage, right? Because they're kind of, they don't get that same experience to kind of learn. So it's only when they play against you guys in these Div 1 games is their exposure, and like we said, sometimes they're they're not even close. That it's tough for them to even learn anything. But I guess that's just the Dota
That's how the
Dota
cookie crumbles.
ecosystem at its work.
Yeah, it is a bit like that. And they basically have to play Euro pubs to really improve right now.
Anything else from the first two games? I mean, I think that um, the RTZ Chrono, the dewarding in the Chronosphere, the, the that was talked about a little bit. Um, what was the strap behind that one?
I honestly, I don't remember the comms. I think it was just kind of everyone was kind of chilling that game because the game was like pretty was going pretty good for us. There was a chrono thrown. I think there was a D word in there. Good objective taken. Guys, a D word is sometimes worth more than the hero. I'm just saying
Yeah,
the
well,
words are your lifeline. Okay.
true. I think actually you're in a position to really cherish that, or to really see the value in the dewarding there.
Oh yeah, I do. Like this guy's not gonna kill any hero during that chrono, so just kill the ward. It was good. Good play by our
That's
team.
good. Um, yeah. I mean, anything else you want to throw in there from the first week of you guys' games?
Uh, Not too much. I think besides our games, I got to see some of our opponents play. Like I saw B8 or Bait. I saw them
Hmm.
play a little bit. I think they had really close matches with some of the NA teams, but they ended up losing.
Yeah, they lost 2-1 to Five Rat, and Five Rat feels to be like maybe fourth best team in the upper division. Like they seem to put up a fight, and they've been around now for a little bit.
I think they've got some of the better like up and coming players. I would say. Like I think their carrier player is like really young. DNM. I think he actually lives in New York, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. Um, but yeah, some of them are going to be our upcoming matches after I think we play Alpha. But I got to see a little bit of that. I like not trying to be arrogant or anything. Odds are pretty good in our favor against
Hmm.
those teams. I think. But either way, like we're going to respect all of them and see how that goes.
Then as far as week two goes for some of the other teams, TSM plays Nouns. That seems to be probably the biggest game, the biggest match of week two. That actually starts us off tomorrow. So by the time this posts, it might
Really?
have happened. Hopefully, I post this tomorrow. But so Monday the 16th. Do you have a preference? Like, are you going to watch that game because it's right before yours? I mean, do you
Oh
have a
yeah, I'm gonna watch that game.
okay? So yeah, like, what do you guys do right before a game usually? Like, there's no practicing right before, right? Like, you'll kind of chill on game day.
So there's no practice before. Like if it's gonna be later in the day, so we're gonna play at 9 p.m., which is pretty late.
Yeah.
Everyone makes sure they're gonna be warmed up, so they're gonna play a couple of pubs, not too much, so you don't tire yourself out, right?
Hmm.
Um, but besides that, you definitely want to rest. You don't want to do anything that will exert yourself. So watching games is fine. We're definitely all going to be watching because that's one of the hypest games for an A region, right?
Hmm.
You really only get the three teams playing each other once, so you might as well enjoy it. So we'll watch. As for who I'm rooting for, I can't really say. I don't think it matters in the end, right?
Hmm.
Um, all that matters is that we win our matches. It'll just be interesting to see because I do think Noun's got some pretty good pickups, right? With
Hmm.
Lelis and I forgot who else. Yamson, or sorry, not Yamson, the carry player. He,
Uh, Yemsen, Gunner, Moo, Lelis, and Husky are there five.
yeah, okay. I can't
I
remember
think
if
you're
his name
right.
was Yves or Yamson, but
Yeah.
so yeah, they got some different players, and then obviously TSM with Kasani and Ari. Ari, I think, is really good. That's definitely my impression of him. I don't really know their offlane player very well, but and Whitemon's great too.
Yeah. So that'll be pretty hype to check that out. I'm excited for the casters and for the analysts because they do their best. They do their best when they have these stumps like for for your
Oh,
games.
really?
Like, yeah, all the casters are like I love we got Johnny X Fire, right? Who there and
MLP?
John X Fire and MLP. I love them. I was first introduced to them when you were in Talon. They were doing
Oh
your
yeah,
Talon SEA games.
yeah.
Um
Cool guys.
and
I met them.
yeah, and I really like them. And they're the entire time they're just trying to be like, all right, so how does Thuth come back into the game? Or how
I love
how
when
does
people
Wildcard
ask
Gaming
that
come
to
back in the game? And the other guy's like, all right, I got nothing.
me. I mean, that sometimes that is the actual answer, you know? You
Yeah, yeah.
kinda just yeah,
Look,
pray, I guess.
no, yeah, but the NA's got a got a good analyst crew. I like I like where we are going. All right, let's see. I think that's pretty good for the NA scene. Let's take a little bit of a look around the DPC and the other regions. I mean, we got to start with Western EU, the bloodbath that is Western EU. Um, I mean, the big thing, right, is just Secret. I mean, but someone has to struggle, right? And
Yeah.
Secret goes and they lose Nisha and they replace him with Boom. And nothing against Boom. It's a really tough spot for him to be put into, I think, as to be like the only replacement and having to kind of fill Nisha's shoes. Um, but yeah, starting off 0-3. I mean, what do you say? You're the captain of that team, right? Let's say you are and your team's 0-3, not out. At this point, you're probably just hoping to avoid relegation. What do you tell everybody to kind of steady the ship?
Right, so, like you said, it is very hard to be in Boom's shoes because he joins the team. They lost, arguably one of the best players in the world with Nisha. Everybody's looking at him. This team was just at TI finals, right? Which is pretty insane. And I think all that pressure is gonna get you no matter what. Even like everywhere on the internet too, people are talking about it. You watch the streams, people are like, "Oh, they lost Nisha." You look on Reddit, they're like, "Oh, this guy's replacing Nisha." It's just constant pressure for this
Yeah,
guy. Maybe he
it's an
doesn't look at
impossible
it.
situation.
It really is. So he may be a great player, but all that pressure may get to him. I've watched most of their games. I don't think like he played well, but he didn't play. It wasn't Nisha, right? It's a different team. I don't think they found their groove yet on Secret. Um, but one thing about Poppy as a captain is that he's pretty quick to adapt. Right, some people are very stubborn in their ideas, and even if it doesn't work, they're gonna just try harder to go with the same idea. But Poppy is someone who's always been willing to change up in an instant, right? Like that's why he usually goes for pretty good runs at TI because he comes in with an idea, it doesn't work. Okay, next day we're gonna do this, and he sort of works up some magic. It's hard to say. Not many people have that kind of ability.
Hmm.
The real concern is if somebody feels bad about him in the team, they have to talk about it. If there's
Okay.
some sort of an animosity, right? Like people are like, this guy's not very good. If somebody is going to have that feeling and they're holding it within, that's going to kill the team. So if I were a captain, I would try to flush out whatever negative feelings were in the air, try to figure out why it is that we're playing not so good or what is it? Is it personal issues? Is it strategy? Is it something like that?
I
Talk it
mean,
out.
a lot of it's just these are kind of the best teams, in the
They are.
world. Like
They are.
these are top. All these teams are very good, and someone has to lose, right? You
That's true.
know, I mean, and I think that really is what it comes down to a lot of times. I mean, you even have Tundra, TI winner, they drop a game to Liquid. Liquid though, we should talk a little bit on the positive note in Western EU. Nisha's good. Nisha's Nisha's
Pretty
good.
good. Pretty
So
good.
pretty good. Liquid 2-0, and they knock off Tundra, give them their first loss. Um, that team that seems like a change that really puts them got to be favorites in a lot of people's books. Early season favorites, I'd say.
I think it's kind of crazy how they got one of the only people in the world who I think are as good or possibly even better than Matu to have on your team, which is
Hmm.
pretty crazy to me because I think
Yeah,
Matu was insane, you know? So Liquid's looking really good. I got to give a shout out to Boxy from what I've seen him play. Outside of Nisha, I think Boxy has been incredibly like impressive in how he's playing. The guy is super aggressive. He used to be an offlaner, so he kind of knows what an offlaner wants, and I think that shows in his gameplay as well. But the guy is he does not have any fear in him, and I think that's why he was so good at TI as well.
hmm.
That kind of player to have on your team is very good.
Anything else from Western U that we should point out?
I think Into the Breach actually did a little better than I thought they would be doing. Right, like everybody thought that's kind of the quote unquote free win, even though there's no free win in Europe,
Hmm.
Western Europe. I think they beat Enigma Galaxy, and they were also pretty close to beating Entity. I know they ended up losing 2-0, but those games are really close. One game was like an hour long. So these guys are putting up a fight for for this.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like Div 2 in Europe, Western Europe is no joke. So to come out of that last year, I mean, it just goes to show you that they definitely have some talented guys on that team. It'll be interesting to see. Obviously, I watch NA when you guys are playing, or I'll watch definitely tomorrow. But Western EU is definitely a lot of fun. Um, Also, some SEA, some fun stuff going on over there. Um, it's a little bit surprising. Fnatic 0-3, at Team SMG 0-2, Boom 0-2. You've got these kind of newer stacks that were put together. You got Bleed and Blacklist kind of at the top with Execration and Geek Slate.
Yeah, SCA has been really like that's also a bloodbath over there. And I know people always said that SCA is like very close, but if you look at it in the past, the last year's DPC, it was very clear who the favorites were. You'd have like Boom on top. You'd have I think it was like Boom, Fnatic, and maybe Talon in the last season, and everybody else was kind of way below.
Hmm.
Maybe T1 was there too. But right now you have these new orgs coming in, which is obviously great with Bleed, with Blacklist. And then you have these players who people didn't think that much of, which are players on Execration, players on Geek Slate, which I think they were kind of like the outcasts of the supposedly best teams in SEA, like those kinds of players.
Hmm.
And they're doing really well. And you don't really know who's going to win in SEA. Like anything can happen there. Like Fnatic can go from 0-3 and win all the remaining matches. And I wouldn't be too surprised.
I mean, that kind of parity is what you kind of want in any sport, any type of sports league. Just top to bottom, just makes for more fun games. I shout out Dubu, right?
Oh, yeah. Dubu.
Goes to Bleed Esports and playing pretty well over there.
Yeah, I think Dubu, it's it's pretty interesting that he made this move because well, one, he has a wife, right? He's married, and I don't know if she went with him or if she's still in Canada. But that's a big commitment because I've tried this a little bit myself. I cannot say I will be doing it ever again. I don't want to be away that far away again. So props to him for pursuing what he thinks is best for his career. And I like Dubu. He's a great guy, great streamer, and also a really good player. So
Oh
I
yeah,
hope he does well.
loved his content. I was thinking you should pull some Dubu for your next you know your next major.
Yeah.
Just walk around with a camera. Be like, this is the hotel room. And show the lobby. Stuff like that. We'll put it on the YouTube.
Yeah, yeah, that's
I'm
true.
sure I'm sure Shopify wants you guys to put up some extra content, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Shout out to them. Working on it, guys. It's in your room.
We're,
You got the shirt on.
get, is that new?
This is just one of the regular like shirts, but yeah,
But that's not for sale though.
probably not.
All
I'll
right.
get you one. Don't worry.
Listen, yeah, listen. Listen. You hooked me up with merch in the past. This is
All right,
your first time out there. I'm expecting some merch, some merch at some point. I got
all
to
right. I'll
rock it
get
on the.
you.
I have the blank walls around me, but
Mhm.
at least when we record the podcast, I can wear something Shopify. I should buy the hoodie. Maybe I'll order the hoodie online.
I'll get you a cap. I think there's a cap around
Oh,
here.
there,
So
yeah,
that's
yeah.
what we can do. Yeah,
I need my Shopify. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So yes, I guess that'll do it for the Dota part of the podcast. Pretty excited, just in general, to have the DPC back, and the 3 weeks. The fast pace is kind of great, right? Like as a viewer, it's awesome. I don't have to wait, a week. And if it is one of those stomps, that then it's not like I waited my whole week for these two 20-minute games, right? It's like, oh, you had the stomps, but I'm getting a game in a couple more weeks, that a couple more days that I can watch. And then we'll get some majors, and it'll be fun.
Yeah. Same for me. I love it.
Yeah. All good thing. Good job, Valve. Good job.
Good job.
All right. Let's finish the podcast with an Ask Reddit segment. If this is your first time listening, essentially we just go to Ask Reddit, and there's just a bunch of random questions. Some are pop culture related, some are like society, like culturally related, just a bunch of random things. Today's is if you had to remove one character from the Avengers, who would it be and why? You wanna you wanna lead this one off or
I can, and I have some questions a little bit about it once
okay?
I start
Oh yeah,
off. So,
all right. Let's set the rules. Go ahead.
right, set the rules. Okay, so does it have to be the original Avenger crew, like the only, you know?
No, the way I read this was like, what Marvel character don't you like? And I guess which good Marvel character don't you like? Because
Okay,
all the movies blend together to me. I don't remember who the actual Avengers are, but like, if you're a Marvel superhero, you're in my mind, you're an Avenger.
okay, that definitely opens it up a bit because I wasn't sure if we're gonna just choose one. All right, we'll work with that. Um, okay, so I think the obvious answer that everybody's gonna look at is probably Hawkeye.
Yeah,
So I'm not gonna go with that,
that's
even though,
my exact note in front of me. Obvious answer is Hawkeye.
yeah, it's just
Well,
kind of boring if you
well,
choose
let's talk. Let's
Hawkeye.
have the Hawkeye conversation, right?
Okay, okay.
That's a good place to start. Everyone says him because I think this is the challenge of Marvel and superheroes is balancing their relative powers, right? You have somebody like Thanos who has the ultimate power eventually, right? So against that backdrop, you have to create heroes with usable skills. You have people who like can't take damage. You know what I mean? Like you have like people who don't seem like they can ever get hurt. You have people who can fly. You have people who can change reality. A guy with some explosive bows, it presents some problems.
Yeah, if they try to make him cooler with like all these different arrow tips that he uses, like oh this one is gonna explode, this one's gonna stick them to something. But I mean, he shoots a bow.
Yeah. The reload rate is really the problem, right? Because you've guys with like you have like someone like Star Lord who's got like a blaster gun, like that alone, minus his other tech, is like, oh, this shoots much quicker
It
than
seems more
than
effective.
than your like my bow. Oh, and I got to draw another bow. Like that's the limiting reagent there. And also, how far can a bow really go? I don't know. Seems it's limited, right?
Yeah, I think he's a fair choice as to, he's not that interesting. I've even tried watching the Hawkeye TV show a little bit and I got kind of bored. Uh I don't know, just not that interesting of a character. I
Hmm.
like the actor, but not the character.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We all agree. But we'll go beyond the Hawkeye bar.
Okay. So let's see. A character I'm not really a fan of. Probably Black Widow. I'm not a huge fan of. Um maybe it's because again she's also just like a regular human who's really
Hmm.
good at fighting and doing some spy work and things like that. But haven't really liked the movies, the standalone movies for Black Widow either. And it just seems like there's so many better options for the superheroes. I'm not sure. I'm not a huge fan.
I kind of liked her. I mean, I enjoy. I think I enjoy the spy kind of archetype of a movie. So I don't. Because you're right. I mean, she probably has sometimes maybe less than Hawkeye as far as like abilities and things goes. Um, but for some reason, I like her more than Hawkeye. I don't know. I mean, Hawkeye's just boring. Like
Well,
at
yeah,
least at least with Black Widow, like she's got some edge to her.
that's true. She does. She's an okay character. I guess it's hard for me if I'm basing it based just on how their powers work, in which case she has no powers.
Hmm.
So automatically in my head, she's not as interesting. But as a character, yeah, she's a spy. She has like a more interesting background story. Later introduced like a sister and things like that. So in that sense, you're right. It's just hard to choose someone else that I don't really like. I guess there's what's his name, the Drax guy, who I
Yeah,
think is with the Star Lord crew.
he's funny, man.
He's funny, but I don't know. He's okay.
You can't touch the Guardians. I think all the Guardians they're a collective. They're very funny, and I think where does Guardians fall high on your enjoyment of the Marvel universe or no?
I like the Guardians. They're like the comic relief. They're pretty fun movies to watch, and I do like Chris Pratt as a Star Lord. So they're fun movies to watch.
What was your favorite standalone Marvel movie or like Marvel character movie? Like don't say the specific
Uh
one, but like the Guardians movies, the Thor movies, the Any of them? Black Panther movies?
Hmm. I think first Iron Man was awesome. I really
Hmm.
loved that one. Not necessarily that Iron Man's my favorite character, but that movie was really good. You know, and also Thor Ragnarok I thought was great
Hmm.
as well.
Yeah,
Like,
I think I go Thor. I
yeah,
think for me, like Thor Ragnarok was awesome. I enjoyed the last Thor. Um,
Love and Thunder.
yeah, I really enjoyed Love and Thunder. I mean, for what it was just fun. Uh, and I think it, it makes those ones make fun of superhero movies almost to an extent, which is funny. Uh, the I was gonna say the ones that I struggle with, the guy that I would probably do without. I don't know if it's controversial or not, but Spider Man.
Uh-oh.
I mean, so like Spider Man, right? He's objectively cool. I'll give you that. Radioactive spider bites him. He can swing on webs across the city. He can climb on walls. There's that's all cool stuff. Even like the villains, like Doctor Octopus is cool. Dean Green Goblin, Hobgoblin, they're all right.
Okay.
Um, I don't know. I think it's because he's like a high schooler, so they play like teenage vibes throughout it, like teenage angst and like those types of things. And it's kind of whiny a little bit, and
Mhm.
I feel like that teenage vibe movie doesn't belong in my adult Avenger like superhero movie world. Like he just,
Right.
I don't know. Some people are probably like his relationship with Tony Stark, where he's like the young kid. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't feel like I needed it, and I think that's why I would probably kick out Spider Man.
Interesting, interesting. I I kind of like Spider-Man. He's sort of in the middle of the pack for me. I think there's some good memories from like the Spider-Man movies, even with the Tobey Maguire ones, you know.
All I
I have
can
some
remember
nostalgia.
ever I watched Spider Man 3, right? And I think that's
Mhm.
one with Venom, and and dude, that movie was so bad. When he was walking down the street with
Yeah,
like the black suit and the black hair and
the
twirling
emo
around, I was like,
Maguire.
what are we doing here?
That was pretty bad. That
Yeah.
was pretty bad.
I think that's really the crux. That one scene is the crux of this entire get Spider-Man out of the Avengers. The character hasn't recovered from it.
I do think the movies are definitely influencing my decisions, you know, same as you, like, in a way.
Well, that's I think the point of it, right? To an
Yeah,
extent,
yeah.
you know.
Which is why part of why I chose Black Widow is because I really didn't like her standalone movie either.
Hmm.
Um, I used to really be like, I really liked the Doctor Strange idea,
Hmm.
but I was very disappointed in the last movie that they made.
Yeah, yeah. It was very rushed. Like with the Scarlet Witch, like she went from good to bad in like a scene, in like two
Very angry
minutes.
about her fake
Yeah,
children.
yeah. The fake children thing. Like I don't know. I
And it
didn't.
was also called the Multiverse of Madness, and the only Multiverse of Madness was that one scene when he goes through a bunch of them, and then that's it. And that was like in the trailer, and I was like, "Wow, that looks so cool! We're gonna see so many different dimensions and things." And then instead, you should just go and watch everything, everywhere, all at once, and get what you actually want.
Hmm. But so what are your current thoughts on where the Marvel universe is?
Oh man, it's been not so good. I don't know what phase this is even called right now. I
I
think
think we're
it's
in phase 5.
okay, because all of the movies I haven't watched the new Black Panther, and people have been saying, like, better things about it, but all of the new movies that have been out have been pretty meh or just not that good
Well,
anymore.
why do you think that is? So I have a theory.
I think they have to reintroduce a bunch of new characters so they can build out the next phase, and I don't know what they're doing, why the movies are not good, but maybe it's taking some time to set up. I'm not sure. What's your
So
theory?
I think they just need the next Thanos to be in our minds, right?
Huh.
I mean, what made all those other movies so epic and so good was even if the movie was like okay, everybody waited in the movie theater for the ending scene clip, right? They
Mhm.
wanted to see the tease of Thanos. They wanted to see the tease of the big story behind everything. And even if the movie wasn't that good, you left kind of hyped because you're like, okay, Thanos is getting stronger. Something is going on, and it's building to this one thing. It's like now, you watch these end clips, and you're like, who was that guy? Like, there's not the one villain hanging over it. And I think the one villain is Kang,
Oh
which
yeah,
which yeah, which I think means these movies will start picking up in enjoyment again, because Loki was my favorite. I mean, one of my favorite Marvel pieces in a long time. The Loki on Disney Plus, the TV series. Loved the time, all the different time that had the timelines in it,
yeah,
right? And
that was good.
that's what got me so hyped about the Doctor Strange uh, multiverse of madness. Was I thought it was going to continue off of the Loki TV shows with all these different timelines and everything, and it didn't really do that. But the end, we do get that kind of Kang tease, and I think that's what we need him to start to become more present and to hang over every movie. I mean, I didn't see Black Panther. I don't think that was teased in that movie, but I feel like we need that super villain threat to hang over everything, to kind of head us all in this epic direction.
I think it's a good theory, and I do think Kang looks pretty cool because just like you, I love Loki. I thought it was great, and it's set up for something really epic. So I do hope we're gonna be heading towards that direction because as of right now, I don't even really want to watch any of the new Marvel stuff except Loki.
Yeah.
But if we are gonna get more of Kang, I'll definitely be more interested.
Yeah, and that's kind of like the NA DPC season, where I kind of don't, really need to watch some of these games. Just get me to the TSM,
Right?
the nouns, Shopify. You see that transition?
Oh,
I'm
that was
doing.
beautiful.
I'm getting into this podcasting thing. You know what I mean?
That
Yeah,
was
see that?
good.
I'm no spring
Smooth,
chicken.
smooth.
Spring. Uh, so, anyways, I think that's a good place to wrap up the podcast. Um, you guys got a game tomorrow. We'll see if
Yeah,
when this goes up. It might be before or after. But yeah, so far so good, man. Really enjoying the season. And look forward to watching the rest of it. We appreciate everyone for hanging out, listening to the podcast. Leave comments. Join. There's probably your Discord somewhere people can join. If next time you stream. Um,
true.
and yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave some comments, and we will see everybody on the next one.